Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Kick Off Your Damn Heels. I'm Dr. Teralyn, and I am here today with my friend and colleague, Jenn Krusinski. Jenn's going to introduce herself in a minute. Today's topic is super important. It is called What's Up with Cleansing Anyway? So we're going to talk about why cleansing is important and why it's kind of a fad right now too. So to get this started, hello Jenn, please introduce yourself.
Hi, it's good to be on here with you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm Jenn Krusinski. I'm a women's health mindset life coach, and I have a specialty in thyroid, particularly Hashimoto's, because I'm a Hashimama. So I work with other Hashimamas who are mostly moms, some maybe not, but yeah, just getting them back to good. I think a lot of times with moms, kids need us all the time. We can't put them for some reason.
So, really? I didn't think that. I'm a free range parent. I'm just kidding.
I try to be.
I think I'm kind of in between helicopter and free range somewhere. I don't know. I think I'm just kind of normal,
Yeah, I think everything's kind of coming back to that, which is good. But in the meantime, when you're sick and you've got kids and life goes on, you end up kind of being who everybody wants you to be. So I get their health back and get them back too. So,
awesome. All right. So we're going to talk about cleansing or detoxing, as some people, there's two different terms. Are there any other terms that people might hear? Cleansing, detoxing, anything else? Are those the two biggies?
Those are the two biggies. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because it's pretty popular and you see it all over Facebook. Now's the time of year to cleanse and detox your life, blah, blah. Now I'm going to start this off by saying last year I did do a cleansing program for, I think it was 4 weeks. I did a 3 to 4 week one, which, it actually started the trajectory of me losing like 40 pounds, not during that time frame, but throughout the course of the year. So it's not a quick weight loss fix, but I do know that it helped. So let's get started and talk about, do our bodies actually need to detox?
Yeah. So, there's two schools of thought on that. And on one side of the medical community, we have people telling us, absolutely not. Your liver does everything it's supposed to do. Your kidneys, leave them alone. They know what to do all day, every day. Right. Then on the other side of the medical community, we have the people saying, no, we're inundated with toxins and we've got this body burden. And I'm pretty much on that side. Yes, our liver, our kidneys, our lungs, skin, everything knows what it's supposed to be doing, but we really weren't designed for the amount of toxins that we have in our world today. So if we can do whatever we can to help those organs detoxify better, then I think we should do it.
So when you talk about detoxify, what is it that you mean?
It's really just, we need to get into those cells and open them up, clear them up, right? And it's not just from the food we eat. Some of it is. We create our own toxins. When I had read that when we sleep, our brain washes toxins out. That's how we end up not getting dementia. And when we don't sleep, we don't have the chance to do that. So we create our own toxins as well. I'm just in the school of thought. I have this kind of love-hate relationship with detoxes and cleanses because I prefer to teach people how to do it on a daily basis.
Right.
Than just one time.
One and done, and then back to like your original scheduled programming, right?
Yeah. What's the point?
Right. The problem is I have a lot of people that I see that actually work in toxic environments. And so they can't constantly, detox. There are some certain things that they can do to improve their life, but then when they go to work, let's say like a hairdresser or someone that works in a metal factory, those things, like you're not going to be able to detox every day, like your toxic load is going to be higher all the time. And
I get that. And, there are specific times when like a real heavy metal cleanse is necessary, and you should be working with a practitioner who understands that, because when you're detoxing those kinds of toxins out, you can get really sick if you don't do it right. However, I think those people are also the kind of people that I would want to say, you can arm yourself with the right tools every day to just do a little bit here and there to just kind of keep everything moving.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what would that be?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are things we can take, there are things we can eat. I think 2 herbs that I think are wonderful are cilantro and parsley. And those are heavy metal chelators. Um, don't just sprinkle it on your food. It's not just something to make your plate look pretty. If you like the flavor, I'll make a salad with those greens.
Oh,
You
cool.
know, and when you eat those, you detox a little bit at a time. So you're not feeling the effects of all of that coming out at once.
A
But
harsh
you're
detox.
helping.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, right. Well, that's very cool. I didn't really think of those things, that you could do every day. And I suppose doing as much as you can of protecting yourself. So the one thing I want to talk about is length of detox. So you did a blog post for me, which will be on my website when this airs. And you talk about the 3 phases of detoxification. And I'd like to talk about that because you also hear varying responses about how long should you detox, how frequently should you detox. So I want to talk about first, like, what do you think is the best length of time to actually detox? And then we'll get into those phases.
Okay. In my opinion, and I kind of had to do a self-check here before I talk to you, because I think when you're in the nutrition, the health realm,
Mm-hmm.
we all have our biases, right?
Absolutely.
It's whatever we've learned or who we've worked with, what's worked for us.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get through these phases of detoxification, you've got to your body has to have the proper nutrients. I think a slower approach makes sense. So I do like a 2 to 3 week, a little bit, 14 days minimum detoxification time. It gives your body to work everything out. The problem when you release too quickly, and if you have a thyroid issue in particular, many of us have the pathways that everything's supposed to move out are sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can release pretty quick. And if those toxins don't have somewhere to go because your second phase is like, whoa, this is too fast, then those toxins get right back into your bloodstream.
So sometimes the faster the detox is not always better. And
Right.
and I think we are a quick fix society. So 7 days, most people can buckle down for a week.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a little bit more time, energy, and intention to buckle down for a cleanse for 3 weeks,
Absolutely. And so I'm not, I understand it's a hard thing to do. That's why it's good to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it with a group or with someone who's helping you.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not completely against the shorter period ones, like you said, and I think yours was longer, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
If it can be someone's jumpstart into healthier living, then do that. But just know that if you're doing something fast like that, then you need to follow it up with whole foods eating.
Right.
You can't just go back to, like you said, living the way you were.
Right. Like done. And now we're just back to ding dongs and Oreo cookies or whatever it is. I don't know. Possibly. I don't know. All right. Let's talk about these 3 phases of detoxification and why they're important.
Okay. So they're important. Well, when I first learned about them, it excited me because, well, obviously I didn't know anything about it to begin with, but when you know that there are foods particularly that you can eat or that there are nutrients that you need, it kind of helps you focus on what kind of detoxification you want to be doing. Mm-hmm. So the first phase, a lot of our toxins are stored, thank you to our liver, in our fat, and that's to protect us. So fat is very protective, but in order to release them, they have to be oxidized. And at that point, you need antioxidants in your system because these are free radicals. And if they're not packaged up and taken out, like I said, in the right amount of time, then they're just let loose back in your body. So the fat-soluble toxins need to be converted into water-soluble toxins. And then in the next phase, they're conjugated with other substances, particularly like sulfur, compounds, amino acids. And then those, once they're in that combined conjugated package, then those are taken out through different pathways. And then, it's either through urine, through sweat, or through your poop.
I always laugh when we say poop. I don't know why. Everybody on this show talks about poop at some point.
I love talking about poop.
Clearly, it's important.
Comfortable with it.
Exactly. So you just talked about phase 1 is neutralize. Phase 2 is conjugation. Mm-hmm. And phase 3 is elimination. Sounds easy peasy to me.
Right. The only issue is this. If we think about our body burden, And we know how Americans eat, right? And I'm just talking about Americans here.
Mhm.
And we know about all the toxicity, the chemicals available to us. If we don't have good digestion, from start to finish, it's got to be working for us. So you could be, everything could kind of be working right, and then suddenly it's all stopped up and you're not pushing it through. That's why fiber is really important, obviously. But from the get-go, you've got to be absorbing the nutrients that you need, and that's all part of the digestive process.
So there's so much more information out there on what's called the vagus nerve. Have you heard of the vagus nerve? Yes. And yeah, like that's basically connects your head to your bottom, it does. So, I mean, literally. And so that has so much to do with like every organ in between your head and your bottom. And that includes your digestion for sure. So they talk about things like vagal tone and that type of thing, which also helps. So I'm going to have a whole show on vagal tone because it's becoming the big thing to help with digestion. But to improve vagal tone, just in case anyone's like, what the hell is vagal tone? So to improve your vagus nerve, people, there's some pretty simple things you can do. One of those things is mindfulness meditation. And another one is like heavy duty gargling. So heavy duty gets hard to say. Heavy duty gargling improves vagal tone. And so that's so easy for people to do. So if you find yourself being backed up, having stomach issues, it might be your vagal tone. So it might be something else too, but that might help get things moving along.
No, I think that's excellent advice. I think everybody should be doing that. I agree. Yeah. And I've also heard singing very loudly.
Yeah. Anything that's loud in the throat. And so, there's one way that you can kind of tell if you have vagal tone issues. One is if you have a gag reflex that's kind of non-existent. And the other is if you open up your mouth and say, ah, and that uvula in the back, if it goes up, then you're probably okay, but I would still go ahead and do it. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's another reason why doctors put the tongue depressor in your throat. They can check vagal tone a little bit through that too. So. If your doctor knows about it and that's what they're looking for, who knows? All right. So let's talk a little bit about, okay. So everyone's talking about cleansing and not just cleansing with food, but you want to talk about like cleansing your mind and cleansing your life.
Yes. Well, this is where I get lit up on detoxes and cleansing.
All right.
Because it's how I run mine, obviously, but I totally believe in it. I mean, first of all, yes, there's the food that we eat. And then, yes, there's our external environment. And, people say, or doctors say, health coaches say, that your external environment is a reflection of your internal environment and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So it's not even just your beauty products and your cleaning products, but, and this is something I know you've been talking a lot about, is your clutter. Yep. When you've got all that going on around you, that creates stress. And stress is one of the number one toxins. And it can be high-level chronic stress or even low-level chronic stress. We've got all that cortisol and adrenaline running through our bodies. It's not good. And that's another toxin that we have to learn to release. So if you're going to do a cleanse, but you're not paying attention to how you are thinking and who you're spending time with, and are you moving in a way that you enjoyed moving? Or are you over-exercising, which is also creating stress on your body?
I want to stop right there because that is something that people don't take into account. So in this exercise culture that we have, which I'm not against exercise. I like exercise. But I used to be an over-exerciser when I was in my 40s when I started doing a lot of jogging. Right. So I ran like 6 half marathons in a couple of years. I say in my 40s because I just turned 50. So
I was going to say, yeah,
back in the day when I was in my 40s. But anyway, but I was over exercising because I couldn't, 10 miles just didn't cut it for me anymore because I knew I could do 13, so 2 miles didn't cut it because I knew I could do 10, so you get this weird mindset around what you're doing. But so many people are like, well, I exercise, I'm doing all those things. And I'm like, but maybe you're exercising too much. And this is what happens. Oh, no, like, how can that be? Everyone says that I should be doing it. I'm like, well, it's one of those things that it's only a problem when it becomes a problem. And how do you know when it's a problem? How do you know when it's too much?
Yeah. Well, for me, I can tell you, I was an overexerciser too. I was a spinner. I was a runner. I'm still a runner. I do running for my mind, really. But it's not about the speed and the distance anymore, like you said,
Right.
And for me, it was a couple of years ago, I was exercising pretty heavily. And my body, when I would be done, first of all, I'd be spent and my body would swell up, like boom, like all this retaining water, like inches.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, oh, I just got to drink more water and I need to exercise harder. And then finally it was like, my God, my body's screaming at me. Would you just freaking stop? Well,
it's this weird cycle, like, oh, I'm so tired, I have to exercise more to get some energy. And it's like, no, I'm so tired because I over exercised, especially when you're talking about thyroid and adrenal issues. You're not supposed to exercise to the max. You're supposed to recover more before you do that extra stress on your body. So right. It's a great conversation because I think so many people do that because exercise is like, it starts off as one little thing and then it turns into this big cascade of everything. Or if I don't exercise for 2 hours in a day, then I'm, sluggish and, all these other things. So I gotta have this as a big conversation.
Definitely.
I could talk about this for a long time, only because excessive exercise trashed me. Like it trashed everything about me. So yeah.
Well, and just real quickly, and I think you need to do that, but I wanted to share with you, I just heard recently some studies on how you can, regrow brain cells, right?
Yeah.
And exercise helps doing that. But they did a test, and it was running in particularly. But the scientist, and she was this French woman, so it was excellent listening to her. She said when they tested people who didn't enjoy running, like who were forced to do it, it didn't work.
Oh, that's
in my mind.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
Stop to enjoy what you're doing. I mean, or it doesn't work the way it should. I mean, that just makes so much sense when you think about it. But yeah, it's not how we've been raised.
No. And then we go back to the like detoxing out of negativity, right? And doing things that don't bring you joy, so even if that exercise isn't bringing you joy and you're like, I have to do it again, like I just do it to do it. And I know, sometimes when you start, like I do walk on the treadmill and stuff too. Well, because it's like -20 right now. So anyway, I do that and I do yoga. But sometimes when you start, you're like, I don't want to. And then when you're doing it, it feels okay. Yeah. But if you start with, I don't want to, and you're like, I'm just going to do this until it's done and get off this damn machine, then why are you doing that?
Right. That's that low level stress that your body's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And yeah, you're right. Like we need to check ourselves. Like, am I just not wanting to do this? Am I being lazy? Like what's making me not want to do this? But then if you're really realizing like, this just isn't something that I enjoy doing, find what you enjoy doing. That's so important. And I think it's not only how you move, but what moves you. So when you think of movement in your life, it's not just your physical body movement, but it's what moves you internally and emotionally too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good advice. So what else you got? Anything we missed?
I just think it's all individual. And the main thing is find a plan that works for you. And, knowing that there are these phases of detoxification, knowing that you've got to feed your body the right way in order for it to work, just let's try to get out of this quick fix mindset and think about, where do I want to be 20 years from now? Not it's January and, I need to lose weight. let's think about 20 years from now.
God.
And how do I want to be living? And
We have to get over this. And well, in the last podcast that I did that will be airing, or no, I think it already did air, was about the diet culture that we live in. So we need to get over this idea that everything we do is for weight loss. Like, God, we need to start talking about some of the things we do are for mental health and physical health. And how do you feel? It's not just about how much the needle moves on the scale, it's about how much the needle moves in your life. What is it that you want? Right. Yes.
I totally agree with you.
Yes. So as we're thinking about this cleansing, the one thing that kind of popped up in my mind is, so some of the questions people have is, how long do I cleanse? And how many times in a year do I do a formal cleanse? So we haven't talked about that. So when I say formal cleanse, I mean like a nutrient cleanse, right? Like food and things like that. So those are the two questions. We did talk about how long, and that is really kind of dependent upon what you want to do and how your body responds. But how many times a year is safe to do an official detox? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure officially what that would be, but I studied under Andrea Nakayama, and she does a spring and fall. Okay. I like that philosophy. She's a functional nutritionist, really well known. I'm sure you know her, but I think it's a good time to check in. Spring and fall is always a good time to check in. It's before summer hits and before the holidays hit, right? Depending on when you do it. I think it's always good to check in on your nutrition throughout the year. Right. And even if you're doing the continual cleansing like I'm talking about, in spring and in fall, the foods change, right? What grows naturally around you changes. So you kind of got to make some adjustments, and those are good times to do both.
Sure. All right. So now I'm just going to throw this out there for everyone who's listening. You can detox in other ways year round. We're talking about detoxing your closet, detoxing your drawers. Somebody said once, every time you open up a kitchen drawer, look in there and find something in there you don't use and put it in a box.
Right. I love that.
Yes. I have to start doing that.
And I've been doing this lately. I talk to my clients too. I call them your intolerables. All these things that we tolerate all year round. Like I remember last year, and it just happened again on the same coat. I have a pocket that gets stuck, my zipper, right? So
why do you tolerate that?
I know. Why am I tolerating that? And it's that tiny little stressor that makes me mad when I can't stick my hand in my pocket when it's 20 below, right? And so then it goes to something in my car goes wrong, and then this and that. And it just builds on itself. And if we took care of these little tiny issues that we think are just no big deal, like it opens up so much more in your life. Headspace. Sure.
Headspace, removing the intolerables of your life. Yes. I love that. And I think that's a great place to end our conversation. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, it was fabulous having you on again. And per usual, I'll have you back.
I love it. I love talking to you.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, and everyone, thanks for listening. And so I'll have some more information in the show notes about cleansing. And Jenn, if you have any extra resources you want to throw over to me to put in there, we'll definitely put those in the show notes as well. Yes. Otherwise, everyone take care, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.